Vigil, Ante, and the Vigilante Antics by BelleAmant. Read by Shadow 5. Chapter 53. Retrospective. Shota Aizawa is many things. He's tired. He's an underground hero at night and a teacher for rambunctious kids in the day. Of course he's tired. He's strict. He has to be, to make sure his students reach their potential. He's ruthless, according to some, and he'll agree. He has to be, because he can't accept the guilt that would arise should he let someone go out and fight a villain when they're not ready to be a hero. It's why he's expelled so many students. He can't put more deaths on his conscience. Call him selfish, but he refuses to let overconfident kids walk into their own demise, not when he has a say in it. There's so many things that explain the person that is Shota Aizawa. There's so many words to describe the man. He never expected parental to be a word attached to his name, but it was there before he could even protest it. "You love them, Sho?" Hisashi teased, sprawled out on the couch. "You're like a mother hen, trying to watch over her young chicks."
"They're a couple of problem children,"
Shota grumbled, as strained on the essays he had to grade. "They're your problem children, though," Hisashi argued, eyebrows raising with his words.
"Because they were forced on me,"
Shota huffed.
"Part of the reformation program and all."
"Oh, you didn't deny that they're yours, though," Hisashi cheered, his smile growing, and Shota decided it was time to ignore the blonde beside him. And maybe he couldn't deny the man's words, but that didn't mean he'd admit it. He never expected to be labeled as caring either, but the adjective was tagged to his name in a heartbeat. "You know," Todoroki said, early one morning, as he sat beside the problem children, "I think I can see it." "See what?" Midoriya asked, and Shota could picture the confused expression on the boy's face even without seeing it, too busy trying to rest in a sleeping bag. Not like it was working, sadly.
"He really is your dad, isn't he?"
Todoroki asked, and then it was silent for a moment. But only for a moment. You know he's not really our dad, right?" Midoriya asked, and for a moment the words stung. But then Midoriya continued. "We're not related biologically. I don't know how you see it." Shota could hear the hesitance in the boy's voice, as of concern for Todoroki. The stinging stopped.
"I know,"
Todoroki agreed.
"Although Shinzo-kun and Aizawa-sensei do share some similar features. Eye bags are not genetic,"
Shinzo pointed out, and Shota held his breath in order to keep himself from laughing at the monotone voice.
"I meant the floating hair, but the eye bags were part of the theory."
A laugh cut him off, Midoriya's cheerful noise interrupting the dual-haired boy.
"But it's more than that. Aizawa-sensei, he treats you differently."
"He calls us problem children," Midoriya stated dryly. "I'm pretty sure he's more annoyed with us than he is anyone else."
"He snaps at us pretty fast too,"
Shinzo admitted.
"To be fair, we deserve at least half the time, but still."
A pause.
"I don't think it's a good difference."
"I can't really blame him." Midoriya laughed again, but the sound seemed wrong. The echoes in the mostly empty room mocking how fake the noise was. I mean, he got 2 kids shot on him because we were out trying to play hero. It's not a surprise that he's annoyed with us. Did they think he was upset with them? Did they think that he was mad that they were his kids? Did they see themselves as a burden? Shota frowned underneath their desk, trying to wrap his mind around this revelation.
"I think he's worried,"
Todoroki finally said.
"He's always watching out for you two. You're his. And it seems to me that he's so much harder on you two because he wants you to be safe. He cares about you two."
Another pause, and then, from Midoriya, "He's got an odd way of showing it, I guess." Later that day, Shota made sure to hold his typical comments back. If the boys noticed, they didn't say a word. He never expected a lot of things, but most of all, Shota never expected to feel so destroyed, afraid, heartbroken. But here he is. "Shota Aizawa," a nurse called out, and Shota was on his feet in an instant, racing over to the nurse.
"Can I see him?"
he asked, and his heart was racing like he was chasing a villain, and his eyes burned, but he hadn't even used his quirk that much that day. But he ignored the feelings as he waited for an answer. Of course, the lady agreed at last, and then she led the way. His heart nearly stopped when he saw Hitoshi on the bed, with bruises coloring his skin and tubes sticking out all over his body. He looked frail, beaten, nearly shattered. Sitting beside his bed was Izuku, and the boy looked much the same. The only difference was that the brunette was awake, and he was crying. "I'll leave you two alone with him," the nurse said softly. "If you need anything, let us know."
"Thank you,"
Shota said without thought, and then he was sitting beside Izuku. The room was silent for a moment, except for Izuku's muffled sobs as the brunette clutched Hitoshi's hand with both of his own.
What happened?"
Shota asked. "A villain attacked us." Izuku started, and his voice was empty, emotionless. A single glance told Shota that his eyes were just as blank. We didn't even see them coming. They went for me first, but then they said Toshi, and I couldn't protect them in time."
"Midoriya."
Shota tried, but Izuku cut him off, as if he couldn't even hear the man. Maybe he couldn't, too trapped in his head. "I couldn't stop him, he was too fast. He only needed one good hit, and Toshi..." Izuku let out a choked noise, grip tightening around Hitoshi's limp hand. Toshi flew across the room. He hit the wall. There was the sound like a crack, and then he just went limp.
"Midoriya."
They didn't stop. They hit him again and again, and I was just bleeding and staring, and I couldn't do anything.
"Midoriya."
And then I did. The atmosphere changed, and Shota felt himself tense as Izuku looked up. Eyes still clouded, Izuku asked, "Eraserhead?" Why was he saying Eraserhead? What happened to Eraser or Aizawa, or even that stupid Deadzawa nickname that Izuku seemed to love? Did you know that there's multiple ways to get a quirk?
"What are you talking about?"
Shota asked, already fearing the answer. Most people gain their quirks naturally by 4 years old. Late bloomers have been reported, usually 5, 6, maybe 7. The latest recorded report was a 12-year-old girl. But did you know that there's unnatural ways to get a quirk?
"Midoriya, what are you talking about?"
Some people claim that there was a drug you could take in order to speed up the arrival time. Others believed in experiments. I've heard of people being given quirks, much like the Nomu we faced.
"Midoriya."
Tell me, Eraserhead, did you know that a quirk can manifest through trauma? Shota felt his heart stop as the room suddenly seemed to freeze over. Izuku laughed, but there was no humor in it. I've heard of a few cases. It makes sense, doesn't it? Quirks are just the body's natural evolution, a way to beat the odds and live long enough to pass on genes to the next generation. In times of distress, it only makes sense that the body would want to adapt. Shota took a deep breath.
"Midoriya, are you telling me that you..."
Use a quirk on me, Eraserhead, Midoriya suggested, and Shota did. And he felt the click that only meant one thing.
"You're not quirkless."
He couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. Because that meant Izuku had suffered more than ever before. Vigilantism wasn't enough. USJ wasn't enough. The summer camp attack wasn't enough. But this was. The fight was so much worse, so much more terrifying, and Shota was no help at all. He had no chance of protecting his boys. It's a mix of my parents' quirks, if you're wondering, Izuku said idly. Not really a combination, more like both were passed on, but stronger. Like my body couldn't decide which one I needed more, so through both of me, telekinesis and fire breathing. A forced laugh broke out of Izuku's throat. But it wasn't enough to help Toshi. Shota didn't know what to say. He didn't know if there was anything to say. So he didn't, instead choosing to wrap an arm around the broken boy as they sat beside Toshi's bed, waiting for a change to come. The change didn't come. Shota Aizawa is a lot of things. Right now, he's worried. He's worried beyond his mind, and there's nothing he can do about it. Hitoshi is in a coma, and the doctors have no idea when, if, he'll come out of it. And with every day that Hitoshi remains unconscious, Izuku becomes more and more despondent. Shota doesn't know what to do, but it hurts to watch one of his boys fall apart as his other seems to be hanging from a thread. He feels like a bystander, just helplessly watching everything go to shit. He watches as Izuku withdraws, ignoring the world around him. First, the boy refrains from starting conversations with him in Hisashi, only answering when spoken to. That quickly turns into a lack of responding to anyone, which develops into Izuku refusing to communicate at all. Even his mumbling fades away, locked behind sealed lips that have taken an oath of silence. Shota understands that Izuku has been closed off with them before, and accepts that the boy needs time to cope. He wishes that he could do more. He watches as Izuku throws himself into his studies, going so far as to work on the next semester's subjects in advance so that he has more to do, so that he isn't idle. When he finishes his own work, Shota sees Izuku scribbling in notebooks. In Hitoshi's notebooks, copying down notes for the boy's return, if the boy can ever return. But notes don't take forever to write, and Shota sees how Izuku grows anxious, restless, without the boy by his side. Shota watches as Izuku disappears for hours on end, just like he used to do with Hitoshi at least 3 times a week. But now, Izuku is alone, and he stays out longer than before. Shota bites his tongue and holds back his questions. It's the least he can do, but he wishes he could do more. He watches as Izuku crumbles, his mask of normality shattering with every passing day. Izuku seems to be growing frailer, and Shota can see how his kid is eating less at lunch, at dinner, and nothing at all in the morning. Izuku has never been one to have bags under his eyes, but now they seem darker than even Shota's. Izuku sways on his feet, as if his body is unsure if it wants to be conscious without his friend, his brother, by his side. Shota watches, and he wishes he could do more. And when Izuku disappears, Shota wishes that he did. What the fuck? Izuku is gone? He's not taking care of himself and he's gone? What? But anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 53 of Vigil, Ante and the Vigilante Antics, and I see you all next time. Bye!